Game number 1, a curb stomp worthy of any cinematic screen. Game number 2, though, Neo.int on the bad end of that curb stomp bounced back and put together a very impressive win. Turned out to be a very dominant win. By the time all was said and done, LGD Gaming just did not have an answer for them, and Queen of Pain having one of the most impressive games I've seen on that hero in quite some time. Now we're into Game 3, the rubber match. Gonna see who's going to advance out of this here. And LGD International, who rolled into this match the heavy favorite, and for damn good reason. I mean, come on. The team made it to the finals of G League, finally bested by reigning international champions Invictus Gaming. Taking on Neo.int, a relatively unknown team, but a team that has a decent little following, a cult following, I would say, because of their United States-born player, Ninja Boogie. And, I mean, I just can't say enough about how impressed I really was with Neo.int's play in Game 2. They came out swinging. They ran an offensive trial lane. It went okay. Didn't win in the game by any stretch of the imagination. But once they managed to get themselves back on board, and, you know, again, it wasn't that they even started out that great. Their early game, they were behind about 5,000 gold. They were behind right around that range for quite some time and just slowly fought their way back into it. And really the big weakness in LGD Gaming's lineup that permitted that to happen was the fact that they lacked any real concerted or any real concentrated, sustained physical damage. They had a lot of cool abilities that worked really cool together. Darkseer with his vacuum wall, with Rubik as well to bring people into the cogs of the clockwork and so on and so forth. But once they landed everything, they just kind of looked at each other and said, okay, what now? Because Weaver did not have a good start, and even if he had, he went a very defensive build. He went Lincoln Sphere. He did get, I mean, he caught up a bit by the end, but for the most part, they just didn't have that damage, and Neo.int capitalizing on it in a big, big way. Game 3 on the way right now. As we wait for the next bands to come out of Neo.int, I do want to go ahead and direct you guys to check out G1.2p.com, the official website for this edition of the G1 League. You can find all kinds of cool stuff there. You can set that as a site that you want to bookmark. It has all of the caster coverage, all of the main casters, myself, and of course Beyond the Subbit, and Vlad, if you happen to be a Russian speaker. We've all got our own little pages there. You can use the chat there. You can catch us there and just use it as kind of your coverage hub. And on top of that, a lot of cool content, interviews, so on and so forth. And definitely somewhere you want to be checking out, not just for your own good, but to make sure you give one of the main sponsors of G1 Season 5 a little bit of love and a little bit of click-through ratio. So, Shadow Demon and Magnus got to be the answer to Lone Druid. Magnus being given a decent amount of attention so far here in G1 Phase 2, at least from what I've seen. I've seen the hero played and picked a lot more than I have in the majority of the North American and European Dota games that I broadcast. Nyx Assassin, Batrider, probably the two most common bans in history right now. And the Respect band out of LGD going to the Queen of Pain. Gotta love that. So you know what? We've had enough. We are tapping out. We do not want to see question mark, question mark, question mark, question mark. We do not want to see that player, the Mystery Man, back on Queen of Pain. And can't blame him. The guy finished up, if not, he finished up in excess of 20 kills, I'm almost positive. I'm almost sure that if I go back and look, that he actually, by himself, had more kills than LGD International in a game that went 40-plus minutes. That's no small feat. So, anyway, the early lanes, wide open. I mean, what can you say? We're still so early in the pick phase, it's hard to really say much about it other than just the inherent strengths of Magnus, Shadow Demon, and Lone Druid. The heroes, I mean, Lone Druid is a hero very much favored by LGD. They like to run him in a variety of situations. They'll happily run him solo safe lane or solo long. Even seen him run solo mid from time to time. Leshrac, Rubik, very strong. I mean, it doesn't get a whole lot more strong than this, just in terms of well-rounded pickups. You've got 2/3 of a tri-lane, depending on who you want to put in that tri-lane. Do you want to go ahead and safely farm the Druid? Guarantee, no doubt about it, that he's going to have all the farm he wants early on by sticking Leshrac and Rubik with him? Or do you offensively tri-lane? And it kind of surprised me. And again, it's not like it's unheard of. You know, I didn't want to give the false impression in Game 1. But many, many teams actually tend to prefer to run defensive tri-lanes when on the Radiant side, just because of what a huge advantage it can be to give a lot of attention to mid-pulling and mid-stacking and so on and so forth, abusing that mechanic, which has really risen to prominence over the last month or two. So you see a lot of teams just conservatively run when they're on the Radiant side. Not going to be the case, or wasn't the case in Game 1. And I suspect it might not be the case here. I mean, you've got a lone druid, you're on the Radiant side. You can very simply slide him in to a solo safe lane situation. And you've got two fantastic heroes in terms of offensive potential if you want to run another offensive trial lane. And given the way that Game 1 went, wouldn't blame them one little bit if they did decide to move that direction. Neo.int, perhaps very, very anticipatory of that decision, picks up the Undying, one of the more powerful, and Undying is one of those heroes that he'll get some kills because of Tombstone and all that, but really the stat that shows an Undying most of the time is just in the win column. The hero with his ultimate, with Tombstone, it's so hard to really be ultra aggressive into an Undying, even one who doesn't have a ton of levels, and a Shadow Demon, so very defensive out of Neo.int. Both teams could feasibly offensively trial in if they wanted to. Magnus, I would say, is locked in as the mid for Neo.int. Or to be honest, it would not be a horrible decision if they wanted to pick up another mid, run a defensive trial lane, long lane the Magnus, and give themselves a bit more punch. In fact, I would really like that. I think that would be a fantastic decision for them if they went with a hard carry pickup here. And I think LGD is very much on the same page. Getting rid of a Gyro, who could be run mid or could be run as a farming carry in the tri lane. And Magnus, if they anticipate and feel confident that it's going to be a solo safe lane druid, Magnus will do just fine in that situation. I mean, he'll take a little bit of abuse from the bear and all that, but that's easily enough nullified. He can get a bottle up and he can bottle crow if he absolutely has to. But that would just give them a bit of a better chance to get some more mid-game damage, a bigger playmaker, I should say, in at that mid-roll, and then still have the tri-lane if they want to defensively tri-lane, which they very easily could. Shadow Demon and Undying, again, just very hard to be ultra-aggressive with. And LGD, I mean, again, the Druid is a hero they can run just about anywhere. So they are not locked in at all, and they may even decide to dodge that if... depending on who or how they anticipate it could go for them. The carries continuing to be banned out by LGD, and again, no real surprise there. I also don't think it's a coincidence that both of the carries that have been banned so far, Gyro and Luna, can do okay in a mid matchup if they're matched up against the proper heroes. So LGD, again, I think kind of on the same page with what I'm talking about. TA is actually going to be banned out by Neo.int. So they don't want to give LGD any more mid-game potential either. And that's really, I mean, G, for the most part, did an okay job on TA. Played a little bit too aggressive for my taste. Felt like he got himself into a lot of bad situations. And it was him dying a number of times in the mid-game that really played a big role in opening the door for Neo.int to get themselves back on track to extend that game out and to finally net themselves a win, taking us here to game number 3. Shadow Fiend taken out by LGD. And yeah, and again, that's another hero who can very easily mid if given the right matchup and is also a farming carry. So we'll see what direction Neo.int wants to go. And it's going to be a question of tri-lane so far. Rubik and Leshrac, when executed properly, it doesn't get a whole lot more deadly than that, to be completely honest with you. Being able to telekinesis someone right into a split earth, that's just so much time that you're disabled. I mean, it's easy to think of telekinesis as a spell that, yeah, it does stun whenever he lands and all that, but the time he's up in the air is time he can be attacked. And that can be underestimated in a lot of cases if you can get the jump on a hero like that. Lifestealer would have been a great pickup to go with that, but not going to see that as it was already banned out. And see, when you hear a caster say that, it means that they forgot that a hero was banned. I'm just going to give you that insight. I happen to glance and catch it, but anyway, Nature's Prophet will be the pickup from LGD Gaming. And, you know, right now they have so many options available to them. They can jungle the Prophet and just sack the long lane entirely if they really, really want to. They can continue to look to put together an offensive try. And that actually could be a mid-Prophet as well. And that's something that's been making a small comeback, but it comes down to how confident you are about the heroes you're up against. Shadow Demon, an excellent early roamer and early ganker, but Undying not really that great in that role. I mean, he doesn't have any hard disables. He's more of a wear you down kind of a hero. Wear you down in lane, then look to take team fights kind of a hero. He can be effective moving under smoke early on just because of Tombstone. But that's another guy right there, Shadow Shaman, picked up from Neo.int, that is just absolutely excellent at being able to hold someone in place and get a kill put together. Now, with the 3 supports we already see in Shadow Demon, Undying, and Shadow Shaman, that could very easily be a long lane Undying, and they could just mid the Magnus. They could long lane the Magnus and mid the Shadow Shaman as well. It's been a long time. Shadow Shaman mid was something that was very much in vogue about a year ago when I first started broadcasting Dota 2. Shadow Shaman was first pick and run mid a hell of a lot. Chen will be the final pickup from LGD Gaming. And now their lanes begin to show us a little bit. I mean, they still have a lot of options open to them. I mean, you see a Chen, 9 times out of 10, that Chen going to be running in the defensive position. So they could just simply send the Chen, the Lone Druid plus 1 support down to the safe lane to make sure the Druid gets a good start. And then they could end up jungling the Prophet separately away from the Chen, just keep them from overlapping. Or they could long lane the Prophet and actually mid Leshrac if they really wanted to. Mid Leshrac or Rubik. So very wide open lanes for them. And this is really the telltale sign of a good draft, is whenever you can look at a team and go, okay, they have a lot that they can bring to bear, but we have no idea how they're going to lane it. And there's absolutely no carry on the side of Neo.int. And this kind of disappoints me. I'll just be blunt about it. Neo.int showed in Game 2 that they have the chops to hang with any team on the planet, including LGD International. And I feel like this is a little gimmicky. I feel like they're putting all of their eggs in one basket, and this is going to be one of those games that could completely get away from them if they're not very careful. Looks like we're going to have to remake for one reason or another, but there's that. We'll get into the analysis here in just a moment. In the meantime, I'm Ayesee. This is the G-1 League. We'll be right back after this remake of game number 3 of this best of 3. Stick with us.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of trial.
And we're back. Sorry about that, guys. Had to have a remake. Not even sure why, but we did have one. But back to what I was saying about the... now LD is disconnected. That's no good. Hope my buddy LD gets back. But what I was saying about Neo.int's draft, they have no late game potential whatsoever. None. Zero. Nada. They can farm the Magnus all they want. Magnus is not a late game damage dealer. This is what they're built to do. So to their credit, they are doing what they need to do. They need to rack up kills and dominate, and I do mean dominate these lanes. The Lone Druid, by himself, would be, oh, misery, making a run for the tower. Late, not going to be able to catch him. So he is able to get back. They do spot out the bear. Keeper still under cover of smoke, has not been spotted quite yet. Poor little panda, hustling himself back as best he can. And we can already see the wards coming down here just to block out these camps, try to keep Chen down as long as they possibly can. But what I was saying, I'll tell you what, I'm going to run through the lineups, then I'll get back to what I was saying. How's that? Let everybody know who's playing here. We're going to have 1437 playing our Rubik in the hood. Get a Rubik rolling around in his hoodie. And he's going to be on that hero once again, second time of this series. Misery will be handling our Chen. God will be playing our Leshrac. Nature's Prophet will be handled by Brax, and the Lone Druid played by Pycat. Now, he is going mid, and I mentioned this was a possibility, and I really like this. A nice old 2-1-2, and yeah, I mean, at this point, I think that Neo.int may even change this up a little bit. With him being here, they may just put 2 here, and they will. I'm going to finish the lineups in just a minute, but this is really creative laning out of both sides. Anyway, back to the other side of the river. We are going to have Harchenko playing on our Keeper of the Light. Magnus will be played farming the safe lane, and we'll get to this in a bit, by the Mystery Man. Only name I really know to call him. Had a fantastic game, too. Racked up 20 kills. More kills by himself. If I'm not mistaken, by the end. It may have been close. If it wasn't more kills, it was darn close. Then the entirety of LGD International. We're going to have the captain, Ninja Boogie, playing on our Undying. Shadow Demon will be handled by Lei, as previously mentioned, and Blah, currently taking some damage from Misery and his cohort, the Centaur Conqueror, which, Valve, I love you. Please, can we do something about the creep names? Can we pretty please do something about the creep names? I understand that you had to change some of them. I understand why. But Centaur Conqueror, why would you make a caster say that many syllables? Just make it a Centaur Chief. Something. Anyway, my little pet peeve. Hellbear Smasher, #1 name 2013. But back to the action. I feel like Neo.int proved in Game 2 that they could hang and bang with LGD International, which is no small feat, might I add. Beating them at all. One game or one series, pretty impressive. Hold on. Leshrac is going to eat that damage and being forced out here. They did decide to go ahead and rotate the Keeper down here. I didn't know if they were going to leave him mid or if they were going to bring him down to the jungle. But this is exactly why they laned this the way they did. Drafting that Lone Druid, we knew the strength of the hero was that he could go anywhere. But with these 2 supports down here plus the Chen, Lone Druid's going to be able to do okay so long as he stays isolated one-on-one. And Pycat, an excellent Lone Druid player, is just going to have his way. We can see him sitting atop the current CS board. LGD now making their way around. They are under cover of smoke, no sentry down, so they're not going to be spotted here. And Blah, oh Blah, level 2. Only 1 point telekinesis, all you need. Centaur is in position. This is going to be our first blood. There's the follow-up stomp. Down he goes. TP reactions there. Bought him some time, but not nearly enough. Very well executed out of LGD. Very good reaction for the most part out of Neo.int. I feel like they did their job quite well there. But you just can't allow that to happen. And the thing about that is 2.5 to 4.5 minutes. Right in that range. And granted, that was a little bit earlier than is most typical. Usually, between 3 and 4 minutes is like the single most typical gank timing in all of history when a Shin's on the board. And, you know, the path they took, everything they did there was just typical. And that could have been so easily prevented by a sentry ward right there. Sentry ward right next to that ward would have not only guaranteed that there couldn't be a ward out from LGD International, but you have to know things like that are going to happen. Now, this is going to be a good catch. Lei going to be brought back. Eats a lot of damage. Illuminate connects, but not before his buddy drops. Undying dropped the tombstone. Not much going to come of it. And Shen adds a kill to his total. And, okay, this kind of comes back to what I was harping on earlier. I feel like Neo.int went all in on the idea of winning the early game and winning the laning phase. I mean, they don't really have any hero that's going to be able to carry with any real potential. I mean, yeah, Magnus, he has empower, cool, whatever. That's not what Magnus really does. That's not what he needs to do. That's not the way to maximize Magnus's efficiency. I mean, he's going to get his farm, so he'll have a very quick set of arc boots and a blink dagger most likely. But what you really... Oh, you poor Harchinko. This is what a sentry ward does. They don't have another one, though. Huh. Actually unable to do anything with that. That's really unfortunate for LGD. But Harchinko, feeling quite fortunate, making his way back down here. Wants to try and do anything to slow down what's happening so far. Lesh is actually farming remarkably well, given the pressure he ostensibly should be under. But sitting at 16, he's in good shape. 21-21. Tops on the board, both belonging to LGD in the form of Pycat and Prophet. 20 for Magnus. No surprise, given the situation he finds himself in up against Brax. But this is a situation they're happy to trade. Brax is not going to be threatened at all. He'll get his farm. Now they're going to go ahead and engage on Lesh. They want to shut down God's early farming. Illuminate will connect right from the distance. They're going to dive it. They're going to go for it. And God makes it around to the backside. No TP reaction. Little surprising. Illuminate not going to connect, but here comes the ulti. Brax shows up. The Cavalry's here. Misery with a Dark Troll Warlord in tow adds a kill, and now the big turnaround. Neo.int gonna lose everyone. That's 3 down, 5 down in 5.5 minutes. And this is what happens. Well, I shouldn't say this is what happens. I got a feeling I'll be using that phrase in about 15 minutes. But you go all in with a team of supports. I love the new effect on Ether Shock, by the way. I absolutely love it. I think it's one of the coolest effects in the game now. But you go all in on this style, and you get this far behind, it ain't going to get any easier. And yeah, Blom making it easy for him. 1437 says, I got boots, bro! It's the shoes! Chasing him down, and Misery gives him a nice little kiss on the cheek before sending him back to the well. 6-0. And this game already beginning to look out of hand. This really does disappoint me. Maybe they can get a turnaround kill here. God does need a lot of damage. And finally, courtesy of the decay after the soul rip, they get one more kill on the board. Pycat this whole time, by the way, he's already level 7. He's got 2,000 gold. The bear's hitting roots. And because it's a professional Dota player and not me, he's going to root every time. It's just... and the reason I sound disappointed is because I'm rooting against LGD. I hate to see a team who showed so much heart find themselves in this position. Up and now Magnus going to be telekinesis. He was netted down. He's looking for a target. He's got a haste. Spins a shockwave, does a little bit of damage, but no real follow-up. But yeah, Neo.int played such an impressive game too. And now with the style that they drafted, they couldn't afford to let this happen, and I feel like this is going to be a game. And, you know, I hate to sound fatalistic about it, but let's be real here. Pycat is farming no problem. Leshrac, for the most part, farming no problem. Though this is the second time God might end up dead. He is not going to get a kill. He will be pursued, but now there's help. Brax shows up and is going to go ahead and bring this down. 8-1. And God getting away with one there. If there's any major criticism I can level, it's that God has been playing very aggressive, but he gets away with it. So if you can manage to do it, then no reason not to, I reckon. But I feel like Neo.int could have picked a much more stable lineup instead of going so all in on the laning phase in mid-game. And now that it's not working out, I mean, what are they going to do? Like, what's their big hope? Are you going to take... I mean, yeah, they've got a lot of damage that's still going to be there for the most part, but the experience is already out of hand. 4,000 at 8 minutes in. 4,000 coming up on 5,000 gold. So you have under-leveled heroes who are almost entirely level-dependent. Keeper of the Light's a great example of that. Magnus. Magnus is doing fine, so that's not the problem. Misery's just about to be level 6. He's going to have Hand of God at 8 minutes. Don't see that all the time whenever you have a Chin this active. I mean, if he just sits in free farms and does his thing in the jungle, then yeah. And here we go. Archinko's there. There's a disruption. Gonna be picked off. He was kind of thumbing his butthole. Hanging out next to the Roche pit. Just realized I think I used the single most juvenile term. Could have said thumb in any number of parts. Could have picked any biological term. And his butthole. Okay, I'm getting sleepy. I didn't get my full sleep schedule. I had a meeting last night. Alright, I'm gonna stop talking about that. Anyway, they managed to get themselves to tier 1. There's a disruption from the low ground, and now Ninja Boogie ready to swing away. Trying to chase down G. And Split Earth gonna be dodged. Well dodged there. He's got help with 1437. In the meantime, they're gonna get themselves a kill on a Shadow Shaman who was responding. And you just can't kill the shiny pony. There's Hand of God to make sure it's not gonna happen. Now the cavalry arrives. Oh, poor Ninja Boogie. 11-2. And I guess you could say, at the very least, Neolition doubled their kill count there. If you want to put a pretty face on it, but that's not a pretty goal graph, and that's not a pretty experience graph. Another one of those games where LGD is going to be well in range to hit that 1,000 gold advantage per minute mark. Hellbear Smasher, #1 creep, 2013. Make sure you tweet it. But yeah, I mean, and look at PyCat. What has he bought? Yeah, he's got himself he's got phase already. He could honestly just go Midas right now, and it wouldn't even be a late Midas. They're going to spend an RP. Here we go. Brings him back. Can they bring him down? He's got help. Brax shows up. PyCat wants to slug away. There's a Hex from the Shadow Shaman. Bear laying into Blah in the meantime. PyCat looks like he's going to make it away. Brax right-clicking as quickly as he can. And the Bear recalled. And they actually don't get anything out of that. Brax should have been dead to rights, but the inherent takiness in the hero just not going to permit it. Archinko, I'm actually surprised he's doing as well as he is in levels. Every time I've looked at him, it seems like he's been shooting an Illuminate, then running off to either die or set up shop in another lane. But despite his movement, he's doing pretty all right. Brax doing all right as well. Yeah, I think an Ultimate Orb, 10.5 minutes, plus Bassy, plus Treads. He's okay. He's okay. The Magnus has his Arc Boots up, nowhere near, not even remotely in the ballpark of having his Blink Dagger, though. Blood, level 7. We saw him drop the wards trying to defend himself in the jungle. Poor Ninja Boogie. Pretty empty as well. Illuminate should connect here. Brax is going to show up. And eek! Shockwave Illuminate, pretty strong. And they're going to engage. They're going to catch Archinko. Whoa, good disruption. Lay trying to keep his buddy alive. Not long enough. He's going to end up dropping, so we'll Lay after the Sprout. Now, Mystery Man going to be tracked down. Brax gets himself another kill in the meantime. PyCat gets a kill. That's a 4-man wipe. And this is getting near GG territory. And that comes back to their lineup. I mean, 15-2 is a nigh insurmountable advantage in any case. But whenever you don't have any late game potential to speak of, whenever you have 0, the most reliable right-click damage you could ever have is going to come in the form of a Magnus. This is not a situation you can permit. And LGD is just executed. That's what it comes down to. LGD they recognize the weakness in the illusion. Hold on. They're going to have a telekinesis catch Archinko. Down he goes. And now Lay going to be pursued, looking for a root. Will he get it? There it is. That's what professional roots look like. Best root ever. Not really, but a good one. And Mystery Man makes his way away. And at this point, they're just showing up and feeding kills, basically. I mean, there's nothing they can do. They don't have the damage output. The Lone Druid's way too far ahead. The Bear has a freaking Maelstrom. Maelstrom and Treads, plus an Ultimate Orb, an Orb of Venom, up at 12 minutes and 40 seconds. 12 minutes and 40 seconds. 15,000 gold. Yeah, they've already eclipsed that 1,000 gold per minute advantage. And this is why I kind of raised an eyebrow and was disappointed with the draft. I feel like Neolition opened the door for this to happen. And now I can say it. This is what happens when you pick yourself into a corner and the other team executes and is able to shut you down. I mean, they literally can just push their axe now. This bear alone is enough to allow them to push their axe. They may go take a Roshan, but just really well played out of LGD. And Neo.int up against the wall, looking to have very little chance to turn this around. But on the topic of staying positive, let's talk about what they could potentially do. They are hard to crack. I mean, they've got that going for them. If there's any lineup that would give a team with this much lead trouble trying to push up the stairs and onto the tier 3, this is a lineup that could do that. Tombstone, Shockwave, the Shockwave Illuminate damage output, plus Ether Shock. I mean, those 3 abilities, that's enough to just flat out kill most heroes at this stage, if they're well leveled. And they're okay, I guess, but anyway, this tier 3 going to be defended. Magnus has RP, still nowhere in the neighborhood of his Blink Dagger unless it's on the courier. And, you know, they can do this. They're going to be able to cause some problems. But, I mean, hell, it's the Chain Lightning, even have a Lustrack, just doing so much damage. And now, and this is what's going to happen over and over again. The Bear's just going to be able to sit there, tank the tower. Treants are going to be there to spread the damage. That's the last outer tier tower. 14.5 minutes in, now the tower stands, and willing to bet. Poor Roshan got a bounty on his neck. They're going to move on into the Roche pit. 15 minutes in. Coming up on 20,000 gold. The advantage for LGD. And I just want to say while I have a moment, because this is a very dead, uncontested Roshan. Neo.int completely impressed me in Game 2. For a team to come back that well, to show that much heart and character and fortitude to bounce back from a loss that was, to be honest, just about as bad as the one they're about to take right now. And to bounce back and to take a game like that, I was really impressed with them. And they're a team I'm going to keep an eye on from now on, regardless of the fact that, in all likelihood, their run here in the Asia qualifier is about to reach its conclusion. But I'll be keeping an eye on them, and I hope you guys will too. I think they're a team with a lot of potential, and a team that I look forward to hopefully casting more in the future. While we have this brief pause, I want to go ahead and direct you guys one more time to the main website for G1 League Season 5. That's G1.2p.com. Check that out. It's got your caster hub, me, LD, and Beyond the Summit, as well as Vlad if you happen to be a Ruski. And lots of cool articles, lots of cool stuff. Make sure you go show them some love. That's the website controlled by the main sponsors of G1. And aside from being good for you, because you get a caster hub where you can bounce back and forth between streams as you desire, you also get some pretty cool content. Interviews, write-ups, articles, all that. So would love it if you guys would check that out, stick it on your bookmarks. Just give it a check every morning, because I'll be here every morning, and in between games, hey, I'll chat with you, but you can also be reading over at G1.2p.com. 15.5 minutes in. Scythe of Ice done on Brax. I'm not disappointed that LGD's winning. I'm not. I like those guys. I've known those guys for a long, long time. And even got to meet most of them at the International too. But I just hate to see a team that looked so much better in Game 2 find themselves in this situation. I feel like this could have been a great chance for them to really make a mark for themselves. And instead, their draft just very all-in, and sometimes you go all-in and you lose on the river, and sometimes you go all-in against aces. And that is kind of the feeling that you get as LGD looks to close this game out. Don't forget our second series will be coming up at 7:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. It's going to be 12:30 p.m. right at your lunch hour if in Europe, so no excuse for you not to tune back in then. Get you some munchies and enjoy some Dota. And 7:30 p.m. if you happen to be on Singapore time. Looks like this could potentially be our game-ending push. If they're able to bring this Rax down, they can probably just mega at this point. But Neo.int not going to make it easy for them. They've got wards, they've got Tombstone, they've got Keeper of the Light, one of the most annoying heroes to push into, for sure, and they've also got an RP, so Let's see if they can put it all together and get themselves one good win to get things back on track. Here we go. Undying moves in. He's going to be sprouted out, and we're going to see them pull back, use the mech to get back into fighting shape. Illuminate going to come up a bit short, singe the tail feathers a bit, but not much else. And Brack's just going to go ahead and peace out. Looks like he may be willing to split push here. And again, this is just the convenience you have with this kind of a lineup. Not only do they have much more late game potential than Neo.int could have ever hoped for, they also have tons of split push potential. And their early push potential is actually absurd. Leshrac, Chen, and Lone Druid alone. Those three heroes can push like nobody's business, and they can do so relatively easily. Brax rejoins his squad, TP's back in. So, just getting that lane moving the right direction. Not wanting to overcommit to it. Illuminate is going to catch another McCreep. Shockwave, same deal. Here come the treants. Oh, there we go. Block hop with the side device is going to be disrupted, though. Good job by Lei. Keeping him alive. Follow-up is there, though. Down he goes. Bear about to drop, but all the damage coming off on both sides. G is there. There's the hand of God to get their gloves back up. Buyback from Shadow Shaman. No, this is their last chance. Here comes Mystery Man. The Aegis will be popped, and Mystery Man going to drop before he can use his RP. Can't let that happen if you're Magnus. BKB, fresh on Leshrac, going to be put to use. And Ninja Boogie, gonna be the one of the last man standing. And we can see, I mean, they actually held their own there, given how far behind they were. And the class act coming out of Ninja Boogie calls to GG and tells them good luck in the next round. Honest to goodness, guys, keep up with this team. This team reminds me a lot of some of the other teams I've casted in the past that had all the potential in the world, maybe had some problems in the draft, maybe had some problems with execution. And losing 2-1 to LGD International is not exactly something to be ashamed of. They did take one game off of them. And yeah, both losses were pretty lopsided and ugly, but I think there's potential on this squad, and I hope they stick together, keep playing. And I wish them the best of luck. I hope that they wind up in a bracket of another tournament I cast at some point. I would love to see this team develop, just because the potential is there. But LGD just on another tier today. Another sub 20-minute win. And if I'm pretty sure it officially took LGD less time to win the 2 games they won than it took Neo.int to win the 1 game they won. I'm almost positive that when the GGs came out, if you combine games 1 and 3, they actually weren't as long as game number 2. So an absolute domination, followed by a slugfest, followed by an absolute domination, and LGD keeps rolling here in Phase 2 of the G-1 Champions League Asia qualifiers. The Neo.int sees their run come to an end. And they're still playing. You know what? I don't do this. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. It's North American, European style, baby. GGs are called. You quit fighting. Whoever calls the GGs leaves the game, so the broadcasters like me don't just have to ramble. There we go. Finally, we see the ancient drop. Excellent performance out of LGD in games 1 and 3. Impressive performance out of Neo.int in game 2. Unfortunately, close only counts in horseshoes, hand grenades. And close enough, not close enough for Neo.int.